Nico Harrison addressed the media discussing the Luka Doncic trade, and it went about as well as you thought it might. We'll discuss it next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Curl, and yes, live in studio, our national NBA insider, Marc Stein. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs. Appreciate you joining us here on our show today. Nico Harrison addressed the media discussing the Luka Doncic trade, and there's a lot, and I mean a lot, to get into. Our guy, Tim Cato, was on the ground today as Nico Harrison and Mavericks CEO Rick Welts addressed the media. We will dive into all of it over the course of the next hour plus here on our show, gentlemen. As Fire Nico chants have already broken out in the chat. We've already got a super chat already, Tanner, to start off the show with for the $4.99 variety from Blue Tortoise Sports. I have to know, if that's all that was going to be said, why the no camera stick? Like, that's so weak. That's how we kick off our show today, boys and girls. Tim Cato, you were there at the American Airlines Center this morning as Nico Harrison, for the first time, addressed the media in further detail regarding the Luka Doncic trade. The floor is yours, sir.
That was bizarre. Still processing, still trying to figure out. It was an hour. It was not. It was recorded, but going through the transcript, the agreement was that we're not going to use audio or video. And I guess the big takeaway was that the messaging from Nico Harrison was defense wins championship. It was the same messaging. There was definitely some recreating a narrative that didn't involve Luka, although I thought there was some shots in there. But Nico said a lot of times trades take a little bit of time, but our philosophy going forward is that defense wins championship. That's one. Second instance, we targeted AD with our philosophy of defense wins championships. Third time, I keep saying the same thing, but defense wins championship. The team, the team went to the finals last year with Luka as the centerpiece. Why did you not believe that the team could continue to contend for championships? I'll say this again. Defense wins championships. Another instance, I keep saying this, but defense wins championships.
Oh my God,
and
dude.
I think that this gives us the best opportunity not only to win, it gives us the deepest team and the most versatile team. It was just over and over and over again. It was not. I don't know. I didn't feel like there was new answers in here. There's a lot about Dirk. A lot of questions I asked about Dirk, his role in the franchise, and Nico, he was asked about people who have left the organization, including Casey Smith. Responded to that one, saying it's a joke to bring that up, that he hasn't been with the team for 2 years. Said that Dirk isn't around the team, so he doesn't know. That's what Nico said about it. He said, I asked him basically, do you feel you have an obligation to the fans and the fan base and how they feel about this? And Nico said, no, my obligation is to the Dallas Mavericks. What's in the best interest of the Dallas Mavericks? That's the most important thing. It was just a lot of doubling down on the trade itself. The attempt was to basically elevate that it was a trade made only for basketball reasons. That was my impression. That the point was to be like, no, it wasn't, like Luka, great player. That there's a moment he's like, he scores a lot even when he's not in very good shape or something like that. Not at his best injury wise. But it was just a lot of what you've heard, and at the end, I didn't feel it was that transparent. That's the thing that most stood out, is that if you're going to do it in this way, if you're going to have just a very select number of media members, you're not going to film it, you're not going to televise it. At this point, why not be more transparent about the exact workings of the thing? If you're just going to say the same thing over and over again, defense wins championships. When the team was a top 10 defense after the trade deadline last season, that defense helped get them to the NBA Finals. If you're not going to explain why you thought that defense from last year was flawed when asked about it, that's not transparency. That's just doubling down and saying the same phrases and words that you believe, most justified to the public why you made this baffling move. So still thinking a lot about everything that was said, still going through it, still in the process of summarizing it. But that's my initial takeaways. And I know there's a lot of places we can go from here on it.
Too many places.
Yeah,
right.
there really are. But my first reaction to one of the things you said, Tim,
one last thing.
Okay.
Nico was asked, what do you think the fans' biggest misunderstanding of why the trade happened? I think the biggest misunderstanding why this trade happened is that we feel defense wins championships.
Oh my gosh!
That is a really big misunderstanding.
How many people were in the room? If you could ballpark it.
15. If you take out all Mavs staffers, including people like Mark Followell, Chuck Cooperstein, Eddie Sefko, I believe 12 media members.
So I want to make this clear, because we did not want to be in this. We did not want to participate in this. The conditions that were established for this thing were absolutely ridiculous, but we made the joint decision that there was only basically one spot that was going to be afforded to DLLS. We made the decision that Tim would go, which I certainly applaud, because, again, we hated, this is no cameras and no recordings, and most of all, this should have been open to the entire Dallas media. So we did not want to be part of this, but we had to be there because there is so much interest in what was said. So thankfully, Tim was there to hear it all and be our representative. And
what's interesting is it seems like as soon as Thursday that Nico it sounds like he will talk for exit interviews.
And that's an important question, because that was, I think a lot of people have been wondering, does this replace the postseason news conference that you would expect? Because again, that's one of the major things here is the timing. This should not have happened today. It didn't need to happen today. At this point, more than 2 months removed from the trade, just wait until the season is over and address the whole Dallas media in its entirety in the traditional end of season news conference fashion, because this created a Luka news cycle that this team does not need on the day it is getting on a plane to fly to Sacramento to play in a win or go home play-in game against the Kings. Because this team practiced today. There was media availability after practice. We're obviously not there, but I'm guessing there will be questions to Jason Kidd and the players. What did you think about today's comments from Nico? Why? Why is that? Why even bring that up? And then when these guys get on the plane, are they going to be talking about this? Everyone is going to be talking about what we're all talking about. And this just should not have happened today, should not have happened in these conditions. Just at this point, wait for the end of season press conference.
Yeah, and that's why it's not in the best interest of the Dallas Mavericks, that is the most, arguably the most contentious thing he said.
Yes.
In that entire thing is that this was in the best interest of the Dallas Mavericks, because that event wasn't. It's creating a distraction for you and for your players, for your team. Season is on the line tomorrow. It's not helping the fan base, who there's a lot of animosity in our chat. There's a lot of animosity in the internet. There's a lot of animosity among the media, the people that you work with every day, that you hope cover your team, that you hope are some sort of liaison between the fan base and the team, And that relationship is, for many people, forever fractured. That trade wasn't in the best interest of the Dallas Mavericks. Since that trade, the Mavs are 13-20. They won fewer games than the Raptors and Blazers since making that trade. And it's also not true that defense is going to help you win a championship. You have to be top 10 in defense, not bottom 10 in defense, which the Mavs were after making that trade. They were the 24th best defense in the league, starting from February 2nd through the end of the regular season. And they allowed 58.4 points in the paint per game since making that trade, which is more than 3 points more than the 29th place team. So this is an embarrassing, disgraceful defense that was assembled. Now, granted, they were not very healthy for a lot of it, but they were bottom 10 in defense. They were bottom 10 on offense. You want to know what they were last year? They were top 10 in offense. They were top 10 in defense. And as Patrick DeMont would say, they were in the championship games.
That's right.
The Mavs are now in the play-in game as the 10 seed. They only made the play-in as the 10 seed, the last team allowed in the playoffs, because Phoenix could not get out of its own way. Otherwise, the Mavs' season would be over already, and Nico would have given his exit interview today. But instead, he's just creating another distraction. This is not good for the Mavs. This is just good for Nico Harrison.
No,
so there's
but
no footage of him saying this.
don't-
He doesn't have to answer questions about it ever again.
I can't imagine that he wanted to do this. I think that this was, I don't know whose brainstorm this was, but
Not a good idea.
Yeah, it just-
not
yeah,
a good,
just-
just flat out and not a good idea. There's two things before we take our first break here. Number one, the timing of this couldn't be more horrendous. You've got a team, as these gentlemen have mentioned, that are trying to win a play-in game tomorrow evening, and a season from hell where they're trying to salvage something of positivity going forward into next season. You've put that in jeopardy now because you've created a distraction, an unnecessary distraction for a team that has been trying to fight through all of them all season long since February 1st at 11:12 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's number one. Number two, the peak levels of gaslighting from this general manager getting shielded by his CEO, Rick Welts, being in the same room with him to field questions about a trade that Rick Welts was here for 30 seconds of is insanity to me. The idea that this GM would get out here and tell us that defense wins championships after the dude that you traded lit you up for 45 points on your floor while you was hiding in the damn tunnel is peak levels of gaslighting. I don't understand where he comes off thinking that today was the day after all of that happened that he could get out there incredibly talk to the media that was hand-selected to be able to answer the questions about a trade that no one, and I mean no one, is in favor of, and to think that you would get a pass about how this all went down. Get the hell out of here with all of this, because to me, this is a general manager who has no idea how to read a room, understand a situation, and understand what he has done to not just a team, but a franchise and a fan base that is fractured to pieces because of his decision to wake up and decide to make a trade that has gone completely awry for him and his franchise.
Yeah, the timing is so weird to me. This absolutely is, as far as I understand, was not Nico Harrison's specific idea to do it, but I don't know why it's now. It may have been Dumont. But we had heard this might happen weeks ago, even before the Luka game. I don't understand with him supposedly or the plan is, as far as I understand, that he's going to talk on camera here in a couple days. I guess the idea is already talked about that. Let's move on. Let's focus on the summer ahead. That's my best understanding of, my best guess at why this may have happened now.
And let me just lob in one last thing before we go to break. Nothing is worse than the trade. The trade remains far and away 1 bazillion% the worst part of this. But today, because this was a media event, because we're all members of the media, this show is most likely going to take on the form of an inside baseball commentary on media matters, because obviously this is our terrain. But I just want to make clear that we're just putting aside the nuts and bolts of the trade, which we've gone over for 2 months straight, and we will resume going over after today. But today's focus is going to be this event because it happened and we have no choice but to dissect it.
One addendum to KG to what you said. There was one person in favor of the trade outside of Nico, and that's Rob Pelinka. who
I wonder why.
instead of having secret meetings that can't be recorded or like talk too much about after the fact, like Nico is having, Rob Pelinka is just like driving around the streets of LA signing autographs. So there is quite a bit of difference between those two gentlemen's present. One is enjoying it and one is literally hiding in shadows.
Let's take our first break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, more reaction to Nico Harrison's words and speaking to the media today as he discussed the Luka Doncic trade in length as the Mavericks try to get prepared for a play-in game tomorrow against the Kings. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But like running a franchise for Nico Harrison, owning property can be tough. And Ownwell can help you, though, be able to manage that. It's property tax season, and you get that dreaded letter in the mail letting you know how much you got to pay in property tax. But Ownwell wants to help you do that. They believe when it comes to paying property tax, you should only pay what's fair, because when you own your property, you want to make sure that you only pay what you need to and save what you can. And Ownwell can help you do that. They handle everything from start to finish, deliver top results, no upfront costs, and they only pay if you save. You can put property tax money back in your pocket in just minutes, with 86% of Ownwell's customers receiving a reduction of an average customer savings of over $1,100. Some serious scratch during this time of the year. The deadline to protest is May 15th for most counties. You can save money on your property taxes with Ownwell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com/DLLS. That's OWNWELL.com/DLLS today.
Well, let me talk to you about Sleeper. It's everyone's favorite fantasy app. I'm part of a lot of dynasty leagues on there myself, but you can also pick every single night whether your favorite or least favorite players will record more or less than their projected stats, and that's across all sports. That's not just basketball. That's NHL. Hey, WNBA starting up pretty soon. Welcome Paige to Dallas, so you can maybe have a little bit of fun watching Wings games as well. Mavs at Kings tomorrow night. I just said the Mavs allow 58 points in the paint per game. I might take more than on Domantas Sabonis, but I'll take a peek tomorrow and I'll give you my pick before the game starts. If you want to download Sleeper today, play along with me. You can download it. Use promo code DLLS Mavs whenever you play $5 to get $55 in free plays. You can use those at any time. Doesn't have to be your first pick. Doesn't all have to be in one pick. You can use them anytime you like. Download Sleeper. Just check out the terms and conditions before you do. It is available to play in more than 25 states, including Texas. So hope to see you on there, and download Sleeper today.
And I quote, "There's no regrets on the trade. Part of it is doing the best thing for the Mavs," end quote. That is some of the words.
That's definitely the smallest part of it. So
That's
that's
right.
true. That was part of it.
That's right. Those are some of the words coming from Mavericks general manager Nico Harrison today as he addressed the media discussing the Luka Doncic trade as his Mavericks prepare to take on the Sacramento Kings tomorrow. We will have our pregame show at 8:30 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports with tip-off at 9 p.m. We will also have a watch-along as well when it comes to tomorrow night's game. Our guy, Tim Cato, was in the American Airlines Center as Nico Harrison addressed the media. Other takeaways from you, Mr. Cato, when it came to what Nico Harrison had to say as we react to his comments?
Yeah, in an opening statement, Nico had said that the starting lineup that they assembled, he believes that's a championship caliber team. He was asked, he said, oh man, where is it? He said it was a championship caliber team. You were able to see that for 2.5 quarters. He acknowledged it was a small sample size, but he says that's a dominant defense. To try to extrapolate 2.5 quarters of what a team did versus a team that went to the finals last year, a team that was, had the best starting 5 or 5-man unit in the NBA when healthy at the time of the Luka injury. I don't think that's very honest. To just say, I understand that's the team's belief, that's Nico's belief that this is a dominant team. I don't think we've seen yet the evidence that that's the case. He was asked. Nico was asked if he feels the team has to win fans back after the reaction from the trade. That's a championship. Putting a roster on the floor with the starting 5, that's a championship caliber team, Nico said. And although the fans could have been upset with trading Luka, they wouldn't have been upset with the results. That was Nico's belief throughout this press conference, that the fans are just mad because the team's hurt, because the team hasn't been able to be the team that he envisioned, because he knows the fans would love the team that he envisions being awesome, that he wants to put on the court.
Tim, unlike Nico, though, we are actually talking to fans right now. So everyone in the chat, let us know if AD did not get hurt, if Kyrie did not get hurt. Let's say the Mavs had 10 more wins right now. Would you be like, give Nico a raise? Or would you still be upset? You let us know.
And look, I've been very open. I grew up a Mavs fan. It left me years ago. Just part of the process of being in the business. I've written a lot about it. But I do understand the fan perspective. I do try to cover the fan perspective. It's the point of sports, that all these people come together and they have this rallying cause and identity, and that is something that makes sports very special. And so I do try to approach it from that direction. So I asked about it. I said, Nico, you keep saying that the fans will come back if the team wins. And obviously a sizable chunk of the fan base have expressed that's not the case. So what I asked is, what do you feel your responsibility is to the fan base when there is a player as beloved as Luka? And what is your reaction to how they've expressed this? Nico's answer was, my responsibility to the fan base is to put a championship caliber team on the floor, and we're going to be judged by wins and losses. Is that enough for y'all?
Not true.
Well, that's just not
true.
Yeah, go ahead, Bobby. Yeah, go ahead.
That's not true. Like, I think, if everyone was just hyper rational and devoid of emotion completely, then sports wouldn't exist. Like,
right.
That's what makes it really annoying whenever anytime you're talking to someone about sports or whatever. There's always that like smart ass that's like, this is a zero-sum game. There are winners and losers. It is and like, sure, yeah.
Sports is an excuse to be irrational.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The very definition of being a fan is fanatical.
Yeah,
That's the whole
it
point.
provides irrationality to your life that you can't have in a rational world. You're allowed to say, I hate that guy because he just plays for the other team and he hit a big shot on you.
And like the best part about the NBA is that when you say that to that guy, he'll say it right back to you.
That's
it's
right.
awesome. It's great. It's what makes NBA games fun. But that's especially not the case for this franchise, for this organization, who over the last 25 years, Mark Cuban coined the term Mavs fan for life, MFFL, for life. This is an agreement that you cannot leave. You're in it until you die. Apparently not for a lot of people, though, because they just dropped a grenade in the whole thing. But the Mavs also built their whole brand, their cultural identity. They mythologized themselves as the ultimate loyal organization. There have been players that have come through here that fans hope to see for longer. Guys like Tyson Chandler, for example, is one of them. There have been deeply unpopular players that didn't stay here for long. Rajon Rondo, for example. But through it all, there was Dirk. Through it all, there were guys like the 80s, like Ro Blackman and Derek Harper. Like the only time those guys left the team was to be traded to situations whenever the Mavs were bad to put them in a position to possibly win a championship at the end of their career. Like from this organization's inception, it was we want to build and win with our guys. And the only time popular players left was when it was the Mavs' fault. Most of the players never wanted to leave. So to build this brand as this loyal organization that will pay you, that will win with you, that will build you a statue, like Dirk is this sort of symbol, this avatar of what this organization means and the kind of dedication it puts into its fan base and its players and all that stuff. For them to just like tear that all down overnight and then say it's not our job to create these kinds of this affection, this attachment, this connection with you guys. It's actually your guys' job to root for us if we win, and we believe we will win. Granted, they did win one game last week, and people were fired up about that one. It was bookended by like 35-point losses.
That's right.
Including the guy that you traded dumping 45 on you without even breaking a sweat. But it's okay because he was out of shape. Like all of these ideas just completely unravel if you think about them for like 5 seconds. And I don't think it would hurt fans as much and fire people up so much to this degree if it hadn't happened to this organization whose whole bit is loyalty. It's all about community. It's all about connection.
And even if you're going to make this trade, let's walk down this path real quick. Even if you're going to make this trade, you have to be able to immediately and adequately explain to people why you are trading a 25-year-old superstar who less than a year ago helped your team get to the NBA Finals. And not only that, you built a roster and made trades to build around the superstar to be able to get to that point and then months later decide to move on from him. There have been inexplicable trades that we have seen throughout the course of sports history, but this is one of the first times, if not the first time, that I can remember that an organization was completely unprepared to discuss why the move was made, and not only unprepared to discuss it, the person that made the move has been incapable adequately to explain why this trade has happened, and along the way has bungled every opportunity to do so, to the point where we get to today, where he continues to repeat the same trope over and over and over again while trying to explain that he moved on from the superstar. That, to me, Marc Stein, has bothered me the most about all of this, is that, fine, if you want out of the quote-unquote Luka Doncic business, you better be able to have a hell of an explanation beyond he was fat, he was lazy, he smoked a little too much hookah, and drank too much beer, because that dude who was out of shape took you to an NBA Finals and led you to one of the best postseason runs in recent memory, beating 350-win teams on the way there, and then you decide to move on from that guy.
Yeah, look, the trade the trade remains indefensible. You can't find another team on the NBA map who thinks the Mavs made the right move here. But beyond that, and it doesn't even sound right to say separate from the trade, because none of it is separate from the trade. But since the trade, post-trade, it has just been own goal after own goal after own goal after own goal. And I could keep counting and counting and counting.
Yes.
Raising ticket prices as the same time as Kyrie Irving suffers a devastating season-ending knee injury. Patrick Dumont's interview in the Dallas Morning News, where he lauds Shaq's work ethic and readiness, but doesn't mention Dirk
Larry
Nowitzki.
Bird.
I mean, and the championship games at the real estate convention. This today, timing and format, to me, it's incomprehensible.
You guys want another comparison? So Rick Welts talked for about 8 minutes to start off. Not sure he talked 8 minutes the rest of the time. Nearly every question was directed at Nico, with 2 or 3 exceptions. But he was asked at some point about, just the rebuilding the fan base and, how you win them back. And Rick Welts decided it was, Rick Welts, massively respected CEO, did not have to take this job. But he made a comparison. He made a comparison with the Luka trade to a team that he used to work for, the Golden State Warriors. And he said, the Golden State Warriors once traded Monte Ellis for Andrew Bogut. Monte Ellis was beloved.
What?
And he said, he was the one marketable player. Bogut wasn't going to play that year. Bogut's not really a marketable player. And so, from some perspective, yeah, Monte Ellis. But Rick said it got better because they had a guard named Steph Curry. And Steph Curry came in and made the entire fan base love him. The problem here is that in this analogy, Luka is not Monte Ellis. Luka is Steph Curry. And the exact same thing would happen in Golden State if you traded Steph Curry at any point, unless he asked out. If you traded him in this way, if you traded him now in this way, just imagine how it would go over, much less 10 years ago.
The only thing
it's just not a comparison that it's not whatsoever a comparison that works to the stakes of this trade.
And there have been rumbles that comparison was shared to Mavs employees at a non-media event. But to share it with media is a far greater misstep. And I have great admiration for Rick Welts. I've covered him for a long time. He is a literal Hall of Famer, and there would not be an All-Star weekend in the NBA without him, one of the absolute tentpole events of this whole league. But the fact that he would compare the Monte Ellis trade to the Luka Doncic trade in a gathering of media, but more so the fact that Rick Welts, as a disciple of the David Stern NBA, would sign off on this timing and format today boggles my mind almost as much as anything we've seen. Again, nothing will boggle my mind like the trade itself. I want to keep saying that, but today we are focused on what happened today, and you're going to keep reading from that transcript, Tim, and you're going to find more things that just I cannot believe this is what we are talking about. a couple hours before this team gets on a plane to play what might be its last game this season.
I've got more coming up after the break.
Completely,
There's more coming from the transcript.
They created this. They made the show rundown today. This was not going to be the show rundown today.
No.
I can't believe it.
Comparing Luka to Monte is literally, that's disgusting. And I love Monte Ellis.
Monte Ellis was a ridiculously popular Warrior. Like he was beloved by Warriors fans. But yes, this is not even in the same zip code, county, state, whatever.
It's insulting.
Like
the fact that Monte Ellis
Luka Doncic is an all-time great already, no matter what you don't like about his game.
The fact that Monte Ellis is catching strays today is wild, first of all. Like, that's apologies to Monte Ellis, because damn.
I used to think you could never get me to say a bad thing about Monte.
But leave it to Nico Harrison and Rick Welts today. Let's take our next break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Oh, there's more, boys and girls. But when it came to what Nico Harrison had to say, our guy Tim Cato was all over today at the American Airlines. So we'll react to more of what Nico Harrison had to say next on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Let's talk about Timeline. Timeline is a supplement that works with the cells in your body to help give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. I'm starting to get up there, too. I feel like I need a little bit of boost. And so I take Timeline. I should get, well, you don't need any today. I need Timeline to keep up with y'all. The patented ingredient is MitoPure, which is a postbiotic nutrient that clears your dysfunctional mitochondria, a.k.a. the powerhouse of your cells. We all remember that from biology class. With regular use, you will see, and I've already felt the difference in form of improved energy levels, better workouts, faster recovery, more endurance, and much more. It is the only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level, and MitoPure is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without a change in exercise. That is a huge W. Right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of MitoPure. Just go to timeline.com/DLLS today to get started. Again, that's timeline.com/DLLS.
Just like your favorite team needs a home court advantage, we're still doing an ad read. This is an ad read. You know, just because the Mavs might not have one right now. Your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empower Today can help you get it. Empower Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. You wander endless aisles, and somehow you're hauling all that material home, looking for an installer, coordinating everything yourself. It's not like that at Empower Today. Flooring is all they do. They're focused on helping you get the flooring you need in your home or wherever you need flooring. You need flooring in a lot of places. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit empowertoday.com/DLLS for full details.
Quote, this was the best decision going forward. More words from Nico Harrison with respect to the Luka Doncic trade as he addressed the media. Around 15 or so folks gathered to ask questions and discuss.
KG, can I ask you a hypothetical?
Sure.
The trade being the best decision going forward, what to you would have to be the alternative to consider that decision the best one? Like certain death?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know
because like the alternative, the alternative in this scenario was just potentially like be the number 2 seed in the West and win the title.
Yeah, get back
like
to the
those
NBA
were your
Finals
two
again.
options, like like a choose your own adventure kind of thing,
kind of the red pill, blue pill type thing.
But it'd be annoying because someone drinks too much beer.
It's true. That is a good point.
And Mark, you've and all of us have kind of discussed the idea of the trade and in and of itself being, not the best move, to put it obviously as lightly as I can. But again, if you're going to make the move, you have to credibly explain it. No one, no matter if it's been Harrison, if it's been Dumont, the governor of this team, Rick Welts, who's attempted to do this on television and now in front of media members, no one has been able to get out here and credibly explain why this happened, what we believe is best going forward for this team, but most importantly, how is it affected the fans who have fell in love with the superstar and they've watched him come back to your building and not only shower him with love. My man was getting praised every time he touched the damn basketball. Before a shot went up, before a pass got thrown, he was getting showered with love. And that dude, I'm talking about Nico Harrison, stood there in the tunnel and heard 20,000 folks in chorus yell, "Fire Nico," while this man is lighting his franchise on fire. The inadequate ability to understand the connection between the player and the fans, and more importantly, the success at which he's having, not only for your team on the floor, but from a business standpoint. I've contended that the trade, not even just from a basketball standpoint, a business standpoint, is one of the worst moves you could have ever made, because not just of the amount of money that's being affected, people's lives being affected, but just the sheer amount of business you lost, not only now, but also in the future. That's just a bad move.
Well, and that's why, as mad as so many people in this town are at Nico Harrison, and it's been reignited today by these comments, I keep bringing Patrick Dumont back into the conversation, because just what you said there, Patrick Dumont is the owner. The Adelsons bought this team. He should have been asking his GM, who was recommending this trade, what is the business? Have we calculated what the business impact of this might be? It sure doesn't appear that those discussions were had. My sense is that this press event today, and we're going to call it a press event. It was not a press conference. It was a press event.
Yeah.
That this is something that he wanted. Here's the thing. This is not the Sands Corp. You own a sports team now. People don't care about Sands Corp. They care about sports franchises. You are a steward of a team that belongs to a city. And like, I can't. This is what should have happened, since apparently nobody there understands this is what should have happened. The press conference was done in Cleveland the morning after the trade because the team was in Cleveland when the trade happened. Fine. But the local media cannot all get to Cleveland on a Sunday morning in an instant. The local media, and I'm not even talking about us four, there has to be a traditional press conference for the local media in Dallas as soon as possible after you trade a 25-year-old generational talent. The Cowboys would have done it that way. The Stars would have done it that way. The Rangers would have done it that way. And any sports franchise would have done it that way. Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and
Caleb
Martin, thank you. Introduced as a trio. Nico Harrison did not want to sit at the dais with them because, and I agree with this point, all the questions would have been to Nico and not the three players. All you have to do is come out, introduce the three players, and say Nico will do his own solo press conference after these three players speak.
Yep.
And then that's when it happens, on that day. Now, I do not want to discount the security issues that were raised in the wake of the trade, because they were real. There was a threat to the Mavericks offices, which I reported on the Monday morning after the trade. I mean, so if there were security concerns, that press availability with Nico could have been done on Zoom like we used to do in the days of COVID. But every camera in town, every media member who covers the Dallas Mavericks should have been invited that day to ask their questions, because that is what you do when you make a trade of magnitude. None of that happened. So at this point now, just wait until after the season. Don't do an event like today, which is invite only, no cameras. I mean, what messaging does that send? No cameras and no recording. What messaging does that send? It says either we're not confident in the move we made, or we're not confident in our GM publicly taking these questions. Like, what message does that send?
It says we don't care about the fans.
Thank you.
That is what it's saying.
Which in some way was said. You know, the fact, not that they don't care about the fans, but Nico made it clear that he's not going to make, he's going to make decisions based off what's happening on the floor, what he feels is best on the floor, without taking into consideration what the fans think. And usually that's understandable. But in this instance, I think there has to be more grace and understanding of what the fans are going to feel in this situation. I thought it was interesting, Rick Welts said that he believes the Mavericks announcing a new arena has been undercovered in the local media.
I wonder why.
Exactly that. It's like there's a huge story. The biggest story in American sports has been unfolding over the past few months. Of course, nobody is interested in talking about an arena. Everybody is still talking about the Luka Doncic trade. There's something new every single day. Sometimes it's a media event that the Mavericks put on. It's just, it won't stop, and it shouldn't stop. Like, this, of course, is what we're focused on. If you hadn't made this trade, there might be a little bit more oxygen, because that's an arena by the time that Luka would theoretically be playing in. At this point, there's not even any ties. Why was this trade made? I've reported that Nico does not view himself in this role in the long term. He is in his own words described this as a 3 or 4 year window. The Athletics' Christian Clark directly asked him, like, do you see yourself in this role in 2030, 2031? I think it was just coming after Rick had mentioned the arena and the plans. And Nico's response was, my contract is, I have 3 years left on it. I have 3 years left on my contract. I see myself finishing it out in terms of Dallas. I see myself finishing it out in terms of Dallas. This is our home. My family, they're going to finish school here. This is where we live. So this is where I'm living.
What a vote of confidence. By the time that arena opens in 2031, the Mavs will have gone without their own first-round pick for 4 straight seasons. They will be deep, deep, deep buried down at the very bottom of the Western Conference standings. And that new arena will unfortunately be the most relevant thing about this franchise. That is my prediction. So, well done. It will get plenty of press then, because there will be nothing else of consequence to talk about with this team. We will bring you, I pledge to you, on DLLS Mavs in the year 2031, 365 straight days of arena coverage instead of watching the basketball team. How about that?
By the way, I do want to acknowledge the over 2,300 people watching us live right now.
Shout out to all of you. Shout out to all of you.
2,400 now live watching us here on DLLS Sports.
Got a lot of Superchats to get through, too.
Yes, we will get to those as the rest of the show.
That's something else I keep saying. Man, we have a passionate fan base. Yeah, you do. You have a really passionate fan base.
Yeah, and arriving to that conclusion after only, doing like the dumbest thing of all time, it's just really rich. It's like you're breaking into a family's house and you're unaliving someone that lives there, and then the family starts crying. And you're like, oh my God, they're so passionate. Like,
I wonder why.
You're holding this like lifeless body in your hands and you're like, oh my God, they're all crying. Wow, I can't believe how much they care about this person. Like, you could have just, logged onto the internet one time or gone to one Mavs game, and you would have known looked at one bus or gone to one airport and known how important.
And you
Luka
know who
is.
else was passionate about the Dallas Mavericks? Luka Doncic.
But how?
Oh,
How could you tell?
By judging, maybe by watching his reaction to that video before he had to play a game.
The irony of saying that you have no regrets for a trade while hiding in a tunnel and hiding from microphones and cameras while discussing a trade. And there's so many funny aspects to this. But the funniest part about him saying all of this today is him doing it after the dude that he traded walked into his building and embarrassed the hell out of him and his franchise. After that dude was crying for 90 seconds, he puts his emotions aside and puts out one of the best performances we've ever seen in a quote-unquote revenge game. And my man says, you know what, fellas? No regrets here on this particular trade, because I'm the guy who said he could have done nothing, but he did something anyway. And this is where we are.
If this had happened the first time I heard the concept that this might happen, which was a week before Luka came back, that would have at least made a little bit more sense.
Sure.
Because then at least, like, okay, there's this event, there's this game that's coming up, there's Luka's return. It's going to be a media event. You go into this event and you say, hey, we should have, we messed up. Nico's like, I should have talked, the week of the trade deadline. It was a miscalculation. I'm offering that opportunity to, I don't like the format either. Mark covered that well. I don't understand why this is happening in this way. But at least if you do that, it has some merit of, okay, let's at least gather our local media members and we'll talk about why this happened, because you're going to be talking about this all week. I don't get why you're doing it this week, the day before a playing game.
And we heard those rumbles, and then it didn't happen before Luka's return. So we thought, okay, they realized this was a bad idea. We're canceling it, and we're just going to see an end-of-season media news conference. Someone told me yesterday this was happening in the afternoon. I said, come on, you're pulling my leg. Then I got a second call, and I was like, why now?
Yeah,
like, he literally might talk Thursday.
I would love to be on that team plane today to hear the discourse among players and everybody traveling to Sacramento, what they think that this whole news cycle has been relaunched again today by the Mavericks on their own. Nobody was asking for this today.
Because even if you believe every bit of the logic of Nico, even if you're just like, Nico's right, I stand with Nico. His logic is like, when we get healthy, we're going to be awesome. This team isn't, like, it's bummer that we didn't get the really good team. Like, what type?
Yeah. Let's finish up our conversation on the other side of the break, because this team has a playing game tomorrow, and they're going to have to try to put behind them all of this today to try to prepare for that game tomorrow night in Sacramento. We'll dive into all that. And plus your super chats, we will get to. You've been patiently waiting for your super chats. We'll get to all those coming up here on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
First, let me talk to you real quick about becoming a diehard. We got a special right now. It's just $36 for a whole year of coverage. That is just $3 a month if you average it out. Oh my God, what a deal. What a steal.
Still have it.
Oh, the physical diehard card.
Let's
Hell
go.
yeah. You can get one by scanning the QR code right there, clicking the link in the description below, or going to alldlls.com/diehard, where, again, for $3 a month right now, in honor of next week's NFL draft, you can join the mighty ranks of the diehard. Here's what you get if you sign up. First off, a free shirt right out of the gate, right off the rip. Whether it's this one, we got more than 30, almost 40 shirts to choose from. You get one for free right out of the gate. You also get to read the entire website, all the written content by folks like Tim Cato on the Mavs beat. We also cover the Cowboys, the Stars, and the Rangers here. And we got a little Wings coverage on the way. Shout out Paige Becker. Shout out the Wings.
Paige.
The future is now. At least one team is doing the right thing in Dallas. So we will be covering the Wings this season. Cannot wait to do that. But Tim's got some good dropping on our website as soon as the season ends, whether that's tomorrow night, Friday night, or after the Mavs win the title. Maybe they'll go all the way. Maybe defense will win them a championship. You also get to join the DLS Diehard Discord Lounge, a great place to hang out with all of our diehards here. We got more than 1,000. In fact, I think we got close to 1,200 at this point. So thank you to each and every one of you for choosing to support the channel. You get a discount on gear, you get a discount on events, and also you get that physical diehard card, Marc Stein. Go ahead and flash it one more time.
Where is it?
Made of pure obsidian. That is volcanic glass from Krakatoa itself. We were able to forge deep within the furnaces of Krakatoa, mixed with gold found from Michael Phelps's own Olympic medal collection. We were able to turn those into some physical diehard cards. You get one of those when you sign up. So whether you choose to watch only on YouTube or become a diehard, thank you for however you choose to support us at DLS Sports. And now, KG, on with the show.
Appreciate all of you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. At one point, over 2,400 folks. Tanner, I'm sure that's still the number still holding it. Yeah. But appreciate the well over 2,000 folks watching us live here on the DLLS Mavs podcast as we react to Nico Harrison's comments today addressing the Luka Doncic trade. If you missed anything, you can go back and listen to our podcast wherever you get your podcast for free. Just search DLLS Mavs, give it a 5-star rating, and write a review for it while you're there. Also, don't forget, tomorrow we will have our pregame show at 8:30 p.m. ahead of the Mavericks playing game against the Sacramento Kings with tip-off at 9 p.m. We'll have our watch-along as well during tomorrow's game. Before we continue with Tim K, let's get a couple of super chats in before we finish up here on the show today. Matthew Hooks with the $2 super chat. Can we start a petition to fire Nico? Clown show.
Thank you, Matthew. There
have been fire Nico chants throughout the chat, throughout the course of the day. William Gonzalez with the $1.99 super chat. Appreciate your contribution. Thank you. Kleb with the $7
diehard Kleb.
That's right, 77-cent super chat. I was kept up all night with a toothache, and it's It's still not the most annoying thing I've dealt with today.
Good luck with your tooth, man.
Yeah, hopefully you get a little bit better.
Although
with
they
it.
do say that if a painful thing happens somewhere else, you kind of forget about the pain going on in one spot. So
True.
I was going to, never mind. I'll leave it where it is. Steven with the $4.99 super chat. 11-year season ticket holder. Nico is a coward. So embarrassed by the franchise. No self-awareness. Just pathetic.
And that is the ultimate thing. It's not just fans. These are fans that have purchased season tickets for more than a decade in Steven's case. Thank you for the super chat, Steven. But like, you owe these people an explanation. It's people that emotionally and financially support your business. Like, these are people that are upholding what you do. These are people that, oh, you're building a cool new arena. Wouldn't it be cool if like fans went to the game and you could like charge them to attend the game and make money off that and use it to like do other stuff, like field a winning team that you believe can win a championship? You owe them explanations. It's not just, oh, it's remember Monte? It's kind of like whenever
That's
we traded.
wild,
So
bro.
you got to tell them the
That is
truth.
wild.
It's people who here a long time before Nico got here. It's people who may come back to the team when Nico finishes out the 3 years left on his contract. But what a lot of them are saying is they're not going to be around as long as he's going to be around. And, you know, that's the explanation. But that's the thing. I mean, at this point, it's not even an explanation for, you know, I think a very notable, sizable chunk of the Mavericks fan base. They don't want an explanation. They don't want this, you know, they don't want Nico Harrison
they missed the
associated with the
chance
Dallas
for
Mavericks.
that, yeah. They missed the chance for an explanation right out of the gate.
Shout out to Ronald with the $5 super chat. Did anybody ask why he's always hiding in the tunnel at home games like a coward?
We did not, no.
I mean, somebody did ask about the security
Yes.
concerns and all that stuff, and Nico's like, I'm not worried about that at this point. My family is safe and everything is good. And
Yes.
yet, you know, and yet.
Thank you, Saeed, for the $15
Thank you,
super
Saeed.
chat. Thank you so much. Clay Goods 123 with the $7.77 super chat. Nico would rather lose with Anthony Davis than win with Luka. Quote unquote, culture just means friends of Nico who openly doesn't care what the fans want, end quote.
So this does remind me of something I wanted to bring up, which is the only messaging that I felt that Nico walked back on. Certainly did try not to talk about Luka at all, but he walked back culture, and he said maybe philosophy would be better. And I perceived it just as a nicer way to say culture. But he did say that was the one moment that I felt the messaging was uniquely, specifically different than what he said the day after the Luka trade and what's gone out to the media. I thought that was the one moment. And for it to be an hour-long press conference and to only have a few moments throughout where I thought that the messaging was all that different, to feel like there was only a few moments where the transparency really came through. Again, defense wins championship. The phrase he repeated most often, it's the literal first thing Nico Harrison said on the record moments after the trade came out. He gave a quote to ESPN's Tim McMahon, and the first words were defense wins championships.
Like, my man couldn't even put enough effort in to be a little more original than the first thing he said.
I don't understand. Like, how do you go 2.5 months not holding and then finally have this media event? And it's the exact same things that you said from the very start. I don't really understand why this was done like this. I just don't.
Yeah, 0 points for originality for Nico Harrison when it comes to his explanation today. Blake, thank you for the $5 super chat. We appreciate your political commentary when it comes to the relation of this trade. Thank you. Kirk Henderson, shout out to Kirk. Appreciate you, man. Managing editor of of Mavs Moneyball. With the $10 super chat, Nico Harrison thinks he's the hero in this story, end quote.
He does. It's not about the Dallas. I mean, I guess in his mind, it is about the Dallas Mavericks because in his mind, he is the Dallas Mavericks. He does. I read the transcript. In that very interview, he said that players run the league. And yet here he is self-anointing as the face of the Mavericks franchise and trading for a player who is not as good. So I guess, you know, maybe he's afraid that players run the league. Maybe that's what we're learning.
We'll continue with the super chats here in just a moment, but I do want to make this comment because I just find it incredibly selfish of him and this organization the day before a playing game to have this kind of a press event. your team is trying to salvage something of this season. And for them to make the decision to have it on this day, while this team is trying to focus, prepare, however you may feel about their chances against Sacramento tomorrow night, to have it on this day puts these players and the rest of this team in a horrendous position to try to go out and mentally focus on the task in hand of trying to beat Sacramento. That to me is another overarching theme of why today, having this event today, is so ill-timed and so ill thought out when it comes to what you're trying to.
Can I tack on one thing there? And you know what? Maybe as an organization, they weren't fully aware of this. This could have conceivably happened on Kyrie Irving's own volition, and maybe the Mavs weren't looped in here. But did you guys see Kyrie Irving gave a really warm welcome to Paige Beckers? This is, after all, the morning after the Dallas Wings just made, the draft choice of their dreams, and that should have been the only thing we heard today. Like, before this Sacramento game, just let Kyrie Irving's welcome to Paige Beckers stand as like the loudest statement from the Mavericks today. But no, it's all this stuff now. Again, a completely self-created and unnecessary news cycle. They uncorked this.
Yeah. And, of course, Paige Becker's favorite player all time is Kyrie Irving. So, obviously, Kyrie Irving with a tremendous message. You can see.
Who called her always my little sister.
That's right. Yeah. You can see it on the Dallas Wings' X account. Kyrie Irving's welcome to Paige Beckers. Who was
just to sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just go back one more point about how the messaging literally did not change from February 1st, February 2nd to today. Nico Harrison said, you have a player who this summer would have had a big decision whether he signs the supermax or he waits. Talking about Luka Doncic, of course.
Yeah, I bet he would have waited.
He literally dispelled that the day of his press conference in Los Angeles.
So Tim McMahon follows up. Luka was going to sign the supermax, and then says, "Why didn't you sign him? And then if you really wanted to trade him, sign him on the supermax." Nico says, "Well, there's no guarantee he would sign a supermax." In which Tim McMahon once again goes back and says,
he would have held out for more money.
He has guaranteed it. He was balling on the bench. And Nico's response to that is, well, like I said, we can agree to disagree, and that's fine. But we targeted AD.
Cool.
And then, the team we intended to put on the floor, that's a championship caliber team. You may not like it, but that's the fact it is. So that's really where we're at.
Excuse me.
You may not like
get
it.
Defensive all of a sudden?
You may not like
we
it.
get a little defensive all of a sudden?
I do want, again, I'm a little, I guess, closer to center than you guys are on the Luka trade because, my answer to your fan survey, Tim, was my issue was not necessarily that they traded Luka. It was with the return. If you're going to trade him, you better get back the most stuff any team has ever gotten, and it could set you up forever. But, one way to guarantee that you don't get the most back is by dealing in secret. One way to guarantee you don't get the most back is by having no leverage in the form of a long-term contract. One way to ensure you don't get the most back is by negotiating only with your friend who's a former client you have this weird obsession with. It's so dispiriting to hear these answers because now as someone that I want the Mavs to win. I think it's great when the Mavs win. Now I know that the guy running that team does not have the organization's best interest in mind. He is not actively working to get the best possible players for the least amount of return. He is willing to give more to take back less if that's what he thinks is the right. In other words, he's just not good at his job.
No. And let me help Nico Harrison out real quick before we finish up and get to the rest of our super chats. Every NBA player signs the supermax. Not a one of them has not signed the supermax. All of them sign it. And Luka even told
Tell him, Super Kev.
This is not rocket science.
They're
all of them sign it. Before we finish up, I do want to
go into overtime.
I see the clock.
That's right. Tanner, of course, we want to thank our television audience for joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Don't forget, we will have our pregame show tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. as the Mavericks take on the Sacramento Kings. We'll also have our watch-along as well during the game. So make sure you go to alldlls.com as the conversation will continue there as we finish up on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Appreciate all of you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast as we finish up our conversation today. Nico Harrison addressing the media, discussing the Luka Doncic trade, and a lot has been said, not only the commentary from us, but also folks all over the country who are getting wind of the comments and the quotes from Nico Harrison today, lighting it on fire. And you have been also on fire in the chat today and in our audience as well. Well over 2,400 folks watching us live throughout the course of our show. Let's continue with our super chats, and Mark will come back to you here in just a second. Say with the $7.77 super chat, quote, incredibly selfish and inept to have this conversation days before an elimination game. The fact that ownership keeps trotting him out is incredible. Well put. Toxic Tom on a Toxic Tuesday. Shout out to my guy Lucius.
Toxic Tuesday.
That's right. Not Bad. Taco, LeBron. With the $5 super chat, in terms of all-time most hated sports figures, oh my gosh, we got to relax. Where does Nico rank all time? Is he up there with Donald Sterling, Dan Snyder, et cetera? First of all,
those guys are way worse.
Completely.
Way worse.
Like what Nico did in comparison to those two individuals in particular, night and day.
Yeah.
Like, we got to keep some life in perspective here because those two are the worst. I'm talking about Donald Sterling and Daniel Snyder.
Oh, I'm sure there are probably people 100 years ago that are worse, but those guys are pretty terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
They're pretty bad people.
In recent sports, yeah, those two, not good. Volta Dumar, I think, with the $5 super chat. Sports teams encourage and depend on emotional investment from fans. It's how their business works. Nico lit 20 years of goodwill on fire.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone that wanted the Mavs to rebrand, the Mavs are rebranding from the loyalty family organization to the one-man corporate social experiment team.
Yeah, he's got the power and the control, man. This was definitely he's got the control play on lock right now. Shout out to the Kevin Kieran with the $4.99 super chat. That's a great name, Kevin. Did Rick Welts comment on the expected 9-figure over year financial loss of trading Luka?
He was asked about that. I need to go reread that answer. I think he. My understanding, I think he avoided it. He kind of ducked it.
That's good. I mean, because money doesn't matter at the end of the day, Tim.
He referenced it was something else, which I was a little confused by, but I did not have the microphone, and the person who asked the question did not follow up on it.
Nova with the $4.99 super chat. I never believed in conspiracies, but the sheer number of repeated unforced errors piling up makes this seem like they are all. There really could be one. Laugh out loud. To which, Mark, I mean, we have dispelled as many conspiracy theories as do pop up every single day. But I'm sure a Mavericks fan who sees Luka Doncic become the first international player to lead the NBA in jersey sales would feel a little bit differently given the way things have turned over here in the last 8 weeks at this point.
Yeah, who's number 5 on that list?
Jalen Brunson was number 5.
Does he play here anymore?
No.
What year was he drafted?
2018.
Who else did they get in that draft?
Trey Young.
I mean, I just saw a tweet. People have been, tweeting out segments from the show. Tweeted out the Monte Ellis comparison, and someone co-tweeted and said Jaden Hardy is the new Steph Curry.
Let's go. This is Jaden's time to rise.
Oh
How has he responded to all this extra playing time? He must have had a really good last couple months, right? Taking advantage of all the minutes opened up after the Luka trade and Kyrie injury. Like, Jaden's just filling it up.
Well, I feel bad. He just keeps getting hurt.
Yeah. And in all seriousness,
that's a huge bummer, man. But like, they had a chance to offer one extension this fall, last fall, and they gave it. They chose right. It was between Quentin Grimes and Jaden Hardy.
Time will tell.
Oh, okay.
Time will tell.
And in all seriousness, if you're Anthony Davis, why do you continue to sign up for this? Obviously, he was traded here. He has wanted to put on a good face for this franchise and be the guy to kind of help move things along in the wake of this trade. But my gosh, like the last 8 weeks, getting hurt, dealing with all of this, the noise, it's just been a lot. And him trying to help his team focus on a playing game today did not help him and his group at all accomplish any of that. Ozzy D with the $4.99 super chat. We don't talk enough about the financial impact the trade has had on all Mavs adjacent businesses, including DLLS Mavs.
I appreciate that, but we're going to be fine. We're going to be just fine.
And we appreciate your concern.
My concern
Very
is
much
more
so.
that like the people that work for the Mavs, that work on commission, like ticket salespeople that work unholy numbers of hours, sometimes for scraps. There's a lot of people that are going to be, that have it a lot worse than any of us or anything like that.
Claymore K with the $5 super chat.
Let alone the people, sorry, KG, that like work at the arena,
Yes.
like ushers and
Very
concession
much so.
people that need that money.
Very much so. Claymore K with the $5 super chat. Did anyone ask Nico why he wouldn't demand more compensation for Luka?
Yes, it was the I just had it one moment. But there was it was the one time that Nico said great question. So it was you were targeting AD when you got the offer in front of you. Did you ever consider maybe calling other GMs and seeing if you could get a better offer? Yeah, it's a great question, Nico says. Our whole time we wanted a two-way player. Again, our philosophy is winning with defense, and AD was the top of our list. And when we had that opportunity, we struck. This is when it gets to the comment, or this is the same quote that you alluded to. Nico says, and so in this league, when players really run the league, and you guys have seen it with other teams, they dictate where they're going to go and where they're not going to go. We had an opportunity to do this quietly without the interference of that, and so we did it.
Cool.
Awesome, Nico.
So,
great.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, sound logic. Can't argue with that.
Well, as you read that, it just makes me think, how could he have misread this player so much? I'm referring to Luka Doncic here, because clearly the emotion that we saw pour out from him when he had the tribute video, the answers that he gave in his initial press conference when he was traded to Los Angeles. This is a player that did not want to leave here. There was no indication. In fact, he even acknowledged that, Nico Harrison did himself. He acknowledged that there was no indication that he wasn't going to sign the Supermax and remain here. So how could he have misread this so badly, given the trade that he made and the decision to move on from the player, when there was literally no indication that he wanted to move on from here? It's just bad all around. Ryan Wilson with the $5 super chat. Sorry, but defensive numbers since the trade are an unfair way of looking at success of trade. Injuries alone. Love your show, fellas.
That is a good point. I mean, it's, they've been so banged up. They played without a center for like a month and a half or whatever, but that's also part of the reality of trading for a guy like AD, unfortunately, and, making your team much older. The Mavs had just gone a month without playing without Luka. Luka's missed a lot of time. I get all that, but AD has a very extensive injury history, is on, the wrong side of 30. Kyrie, same thing. Clay, same thing. Daniel Gafford gets hurt right away. Derek Lively's been banged up for more than half his career at this point. Why would you try and trade for players like Caleb Martin that was hurt when you traded for him? AD hurt when you traded for him. Why would you add more injuries to the mix instead of trying to do what you can to create a squad with more endurance?
It
more
it goes to the point that I've said many times, just that, in their own words, in this media event, Nico said the fans wouldn't be as mad if the team was actually healthy and on the court and it could show what they're capable of. That's what he believes. But so why would you trade for a player who was literally injured when you traded for him? And you made a trade that the PR from it, the only way, even in their own view of it, was that the team had to be really good right away. That's a really risky gamble to make when you could have just sat around and done nothing.
The irony being the Lakers' defense has actually gotten better since Luka Doncic arrived, since he was traded there on February 1st. You can look up the numbers. Ozzy D with the $4.99 super chat. Our front office is basically, the Soviets in the HBO series Chernobyl.
Never seen it. Heard it was good, though.
They rather double down than admit that it was a grave mistake that was made. I mean,
and look, they were not going to get in front of a microphone today and admit this was a mistake. That was never happening today. So, expecting that. But again, you didn't even need to do this today. Just wait.
And even if you did, come up with a more original thought. The defense was
wait
championships.
till the season is over.
Yeah.
And then you have to, there is no you're allowed in and you're not. You have to invite the whole Dallas media. And we've been seeing this across the NBA so much more. This access is just getting less and less and less. Memphis fired its coach, and there was just a GM Zach Kleiman held a very brief media session at the next morning shoot around, and that was it. Now, the Nuggets, they took some initial criticism after the moves they made last week. But what happened yesterday, because the first interview we saw with Josh Kroenke was only done with Nuggets TV. But what did the Nuggets do yesterday? The Nuggets, Josh Kroenke held a press conference because, yes, if you're going to fire your coach and your GM with 3 games left to go in the regular season, you open your doors to the whole media. So they, like all of our friends in the chat who are saying, did Nico get asked this? Did Nico get asked this? Did Nico get asked this? That's why we're in there, because we're supposed to go in there to ask the questions that the fans want answered. And that's why I hope today did not mean that there isn't a postseason media news conference. I hope for the Mavericks' sake that when this season ends, whether that's after Wednesday night, after Friday night, or even after whenever it is, I hope for their sake they're going to do a traditional, full-on press conference.
They told us they are.
Okay, so that's that. Yeah. A ray of hope.
Jerry Guerrero with the $4.99 super chat.
Thank
you
you
for your contributions. Sincerely appreciate that.
2 of them, actually. One way down at the bottom as well.
Quite a long list of super chats.
$9.99.
This is pretty amazing.
Appreciate you,
It's
Jerry.
awesome, man.
Yeah,
People are fired up.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Just knocking both out.
Ronald with a $5 super chat that is near and dear to my heart. My Las Vegas trip for WrestleMania can't come soon enough. I need a break from anything Mavs basketball related. Hashtag fire Nico. I won't co-sign that last part because I'm a professional. I can't do that. But I co-sign the rest of it because I will see you in Las Vegas, my guy. I will be there right along with you starting on Thursday. So make sure you hit me up so I can meet you. We can hang out in Vegas together. Alex M with the $5 super chat. I'm a Spurs fan. Hard stop. No, I'm just joking. I'm a Spurs fan and have always hated the Mavericks, but I empathize with what y'all are going through. This will never make sense to me, Bobby.
That is beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. Thank you, and also we hate you. Just kidding. We don't hate you, but thank you. But that lets you know. That puts the picture in the frame.
Yeah.
Aram with the $7.70 super chat. 80 has looked super dejected this last week. Said he had, quote, no emotions before the Luka game and all that. Can his time in Dallas be salvaged?
That is the hidden risk of all of this.
I don't know anything, but I do know that Rich Paul does not like leaving clients in bad situations. I would love to know what he's thinking, how he's seeing all of this. I think it is fascinating.
It's not just like Nico said, like players run the league and get to go where they want to go. So by trading Luka, he skipped ahead of the point where Luka might say, no, I don't want to go there. But he also traded for a player that probably had no interest in coming here. So that's really great.
Shinehead 45 with the 150 super chat. Quick observation. Wouldn't it have been great for some of those who attended this BS non-presser to ask, quote, what is the purpose of this roundtable, quote?
That honestly was going to be my first question. Somebody else essentially asked, like, do you have any regrets about not? I probably should have asked it anyway. Like, why now? It was my planned first question. But after he was asked, do you have any regrets about not speaking, since the day after the trade? I figured I'd focus on other ones. And, I got 5 or 6 questions in and would have asked 20 if they would have just given me the mic, given me the full hour.
Jerry Guerrero, appreciate again with the $9.99 super chat. Adam Swish with the $9.99 super chat. Nico Harrison threw up on my child, and when I asked him why he said that, again, defense wins championships.
That child should say, thank you very much, sir. Please do it again.
That is chat of the day so far.
Yeah, and Nico also said, kid should have blocked my puke. Should have swatted it out of there.
Get your hands up.
Yeah.
Should have took a charge.
Hand down, man down.
Right.
Obviously, defense was referenced a lot, but 6 distinct references to defense wins championships. It was said 6 times.
The man knows how to drive a point home, Tim.
That's so funny, man. Like, my man could not come up with anything else original to explain this. Like, if you go, waste the time of the people, at least come up with some original thought to explain this away. Captain Crunk Cereal, not to be confused with Crunch, with the $2 super chat. Nico would trade Paige Beckers to Los Angeles for Nancy Pelosi.
She's from San Francisco.
All right.
Just to clarify, but
he's not allowed anywhere near the Dallas Swings. That's for damn sure. Blue Tortoise Sports with the $4.99 super chat. Shout out to that one Rockets game they played and did great for 2 quarters while the Rockets were missing 3 starters.
That was a fun game. All right, that was a fun half.
It was a great
awesome.
half. Yeah,
that's like the most fun we've had all season.
No, really.
It was so much fun.
Well,
dude, it was you and me and Jesse Tanner. We were all up there.
We were, but you said the most fun we've had all season. That Luka game against the Golden State Warriors, that was pretty damn good.
Fun.
Yeah.
That was basketball nirvana.
Yeah, that was incredible. Henry Diesel 23. All right. Appreciate the coverage as always, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry.
Chandler 4 with the $1.99 super chat. I think Nico Harrison just loves secret meetings.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't love a good secret meeting?
We were in a room that I have never been to in the American Airlines Center, and that's actually kind of impressive.
Did you ever fear for your safety at any point?
No.
Okay.
I did not. However, I did not eat the pastries.
Yeah, because I think it was 10:53 and I hadn't heard from you yet, and I was like, oh, I know where all the tunnels in that building are. I'll come in and save you, Tim.
Yeah, we were up on the
I saw the
yeah.
The
you ever been in that room?
Probably, honestly.
Okay. No, I never had been.
Yeah.
Is that OGI Boogie?
J. OGJ Boogie.
OGJ. Oh, it's a J. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
With the $4.99 super chat, I don't see why people call it a conspiracy theory. In my opinion, the owner anymore did anybody ask the purpose training logo?
Did anybody ask the purpose of trading? Probably maybe Luka. Maybe not logo. It might be
no. Okay.
Might be an autocorrect.
We appreciate you $4.99. Thank you. Ben with the $4.99 super chat. Not that Ben, the other Ben.
Or the other Ben.
Or the other Ben.
Or the fourth Ben.
True. Did Nico watch the finals last year? Boston put on a clinic offensively, but yeah, defense wins championships.
Ben, let me stop you right there. It's not the finals. They're called the championship games. All right. And yeah, the Mavs ranked 5th in the playoffs last year in defensive rating. That's not good enough. No sleep until number 1. You might have to be awake until they make the playoffs to get to that point, but maybe that'll happen next year.
Shout out to Slightly Biased.
Thank you, Slightly.
In the super chat with the $4.99 super chat. I feel like you should give us more because we know what you make. No, I'm just joking.
Courtside seats. He can afford courtside seats.
That's what I'm saying. Like, low key, like you said, courtside. Maybe you're part of the deep state. No, I'm just joking. Love you guys, even though you're deep state media.
It's true.
This team is really smart. Can't wait for the first of many playing games tomorrow night.
So many playing games coming their way.
So many.
Over the next 10 years. At least one.
Many. So many.
How about this? This is the most playing games the Mavs have ever been in a season. This is an improvement.
Do you know who has?
They've never played a playing game until now.
Do you know who kind of has low key the most experience in playing games? Anthony Davis.
That is true, actually.
I believe he's been in 4 playing games, if I remember correctly.
Can I just tell you guys a story? Because
story time is sure.
Obviously, I'm old. I'm an incurable nostalgist. I always, I've definitely become that. It was so much better in my day. But just to show you how much the NBA has changed in 40 years, and to be fair, I was still in high school when this happened. I was not a Dallas resident. But after the Dallas Mavericks traded Mark Aguirre in the 80s, Norm Sanju had a weekly radio show on WBAP, which happened to be right after the trade, like the next day. He did the show for an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
So, that's just, again, that's the NBA glory days. And now where we are 30, 40 years later, it's just.
What you mean? We did a 2-hour trade deadline, trade thing.
But we're not the GM. We didn't make the trade.
That's true. We just reacted to it. Good point. Aaron Mitchell with the $4.99 super chat.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Mo with the $1.99 super chat. Just wait till fans have PJ D Live got traded for KD.
That would that might lead to some
Ship of Theseus stuff.
bad things that I don't want to talk about. I think a lot of bad things would happen. I'm fearful.
Yeah. Fear Unos with the $5 super chat. Aiding asking out is the best he can do for the Mavs fans. Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Oh, geez. Then Nico can't keep pretending it was a good idea. Nico's vision dies and he can finally go away.
That is the thing. At what point,
boy.
how many excuses do they have? You say, with defense wins championships, we got 3 years. Well, this one is probably lost. What about next year? Well, injuries. What about next year? Well, age. At some point, you run out of excuses. One day, publicly, someone will say this was a mistake. But it is not this day. This day, they fight.
This is on top of the fact that Anthony Davis has a 3-year, $175 million contract extension that kicks in at the beginning of next season.
Good stuff.
How many super chats have there been?
A lot.
Is this a 38?
Yeah.
Is that a record?
Thank you, each of you.
Go back to the Luka trade special. That might be more than. Ozzy D with the $1.99 super chat.
Oh, we got one in the works. Trust me.
Bobby, hang the 2025 play qualification banner.
Trust me. We will mark the occasion. All right, we got a framed photo of my reaction to the Omax pick.
That's true.
All right, trust me. Ben will have something in the oven soon.
Final super chat before we get out of here. Shinehead 45 with a $2.50 super chat. Are we experiencing the last gasps of air from a GM who is a dead man walking? Wow.
So to speak, metaphorically speaking.
Yes.
Like after 20,000 fans chant fire Nico, the guy is radioactive. The CEO is dropping him to save face. Barkley. Guaranteed.
Radioactive is a good word for it.
Toxic is another one.
It is a deeply, deeply uncomfortable situation right now. And I just want to say, as someone that worked there for a very long time, and as someone that's been around this organization and honestly part of this organization for my entire life pretty much, I feel deep, deep, deep sympathy for everyone that is like morally, ethically conflicted with their fandom right now. If you don't want to be a fan of the team anymore, or if you kind of do but you feel bad about it, or if you don't but you feel bad about not being a fan, like there's a lot of people that are going through a lot of stuff right now emotionally and psychologically, and no decision that you make is the wrong one.
What I'll say is I don't know Nico's future. I don't know what Patrick Dumont is thinking.
We know he's got 3 years left on his contract, apparently.
But I know that media event that just happened was not Nico's idea. And if you really think about it, since Patrick Dumont took ownership of this team, this is probably the first time Nico's been made to do something he didn't want to do. So,
Okay.
I'm very curious what that means, but I do believe that's true.
A couple more super chats sneaking in before we get out of here. John P. MFFL with the 4.
We got to get to 41 super chats. What are we on, 40?
I don't
GM
need,
Ben.
I don't need that.
GM
kind of-
Ben.
Hop on the
No,
stick.
we gotta
GM
go.
Ben,
I
do
gotta,
the-
Yeah, Tim does have to write, actually.
yeah, I got to write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you guys can be reading them.
Remember, winning the play-in is harder than winning the title.
It's true. On the way to the championship, you get 4 losses per series. All right? You're really 3. Playing, you get 1. This is the ultimate achievement. Oh, number 41 just came in. Let's go.
Touchpad with the 50 super chat. Did anyone ask Nico what win now means? Because going from the final into the play-in doesn't feel like a, quote, win now move to me.
Well, touchpad, they got a game tomorrow. That's pretty much now. If they win that game, they're winning now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Raise
again,
the banner.
Championship games on the horizon.
We've covered it, but essentially the line of logic from Nico was, well, if the team was healthy, they would have showed you. So I
Big
agree.
if.
It's not convincing.
If has the weight of its world on its
It's not a
shoulders.
convincing line of logic, and it's doing a lot of heavy lifting from 2.5 quarters of a game that the Rockets were down some players. But it is the line of logic. It's the only one we have.
Codinha with the $4.99 super chat. Nico would trade Paige Beckers to the Sparks for a retired Candace Parker.
Candace Parker is a legend.
Yeah,
all
we're not gonna
right. Let me
disrespect
just
Candace
tell you,
Parker.
defense wins championships.
2008. Look it up. One of the greatest years ever for a player. Candace Parker.
No, he wouldn't. Candace Parker signed to Adidas.
Oh, no, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Touché.
Yeah.
Tomorrow,
Adidas is
TJK TV with the $2
president.
super chat. Thank you. Why is Nico still here?
It's a good question. Well, he's probably on a plane to Sacramento right now.
Probably.
So he's 30,000 feet in the air, and I think a lot of people hope he stays there forever.
We appreciate all of you for joining us on our show today. Well over 2,000 folks watching us live. We sincerely appreciate all of your super chats, all of your comments and engagement has been well received, and we really appreciate all of you for it. That'll do us for us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast today. We will have our pregame show tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. ahead of the Mavericks actually playing a basketball game. They will take on the Sacramento Kings in the play-in tomorrow. We will have a watch log for that game as well with our post-game show following immediately afterwards when the Mavericks take on the Kings. Appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you. That is our national NBA insider, Marc Stein. You can dial up the Stein line at the Stein line. That is our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Carella. That is our intrepid beat writer, Tim Cato.
Deep State's own.
That's right. You can find him on X at Tim_Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.